Hello and welcome to Learning Made Easy. Today, we're going to be diving deeper into the different cells of the immune system and their specific roles in protecting our body from foreign invaders. There are several different types of cells in the immune system, each with its own unique function. Let's take a closer look at some of the most important ones. White blood cells, leukocytes. White blood cells, also, are the primary cells involved in the immune response. They are divided into two main types, granulocytes and agranulocytes. Granulocytes. Granulocytes include neutrophils, eosinophils, and basophils. These cells are characterized by the presence of granules in their cytoplasm and are known for their role in phagocytosis. Neutrophils. Neutrophils have multi-lobed nucleus. They are the most abundant, 50% to 70%, type of white blood cell and are responsible for fighting off bacterial infections. They are the first line of defense against bacterial infections and are able to migrate towards the site of an infection by extravasation through a process known as chemotaxis. They are able to engulf and kill bacteria by releasing toxic enzymes and reactive oxygen species. Eosinophils. Eosinophils have bilobed nucleus. They are 1% to 3% of total WBC. They are involved in the body's response to parasitic infections and allergies. They are able to recognize and neutralize parasites and are also involved in the inflammatory response to allergens. They are able to kill parasites by releasing toxic granules and also produce anti-inflammatory cytokines. Basophils. Basophils have single-lobed nucleus. They are less than 1% of total WBC. They play a role in the inflammatory response and are involved in the release of histamine during an allergic reaction. They also play a role in the immune response to parasites and fungal infections. They do not play a role in phagocytosis of antigens. Agranulocytes. Agranulocytes include lymphocytes and monocytes. These cells do not have granules in their cytoplasm. Lymphocytes. Lymphocytes are divided into two main subtypes, B cells and T cells. B cells, also known as B lymphocytes, are responsible for producing antibodies that bind to and neutralize foreign invaders. They mature in the bone marrow and are able to bind to and recognize specific antigens using their surface immunoglobulin Ig-M, also called B cell receptor, BCR. When they encounter an antigen, they differentiate into plasma cells, lose expression of surface Ig, which will then produce large amounts of antibodies 101,000 s per second, specific to that antigen. T cells, also known as T lymphocytes, display T cell receptor, TCR, which interacts with processed antigen presented on MHC complexes of phagocytic cell like macrophages or other nucleated cells. They are also able to recognize specific antigens, but instead of producing antibodies, they release chemical signals that can recruit other immune cells to the site of an infection or directly kill infected cells. T cells are also divided into several subtypes, including CD4 plus T helper cells and CD8 plus cytotoxic T cells. CD4 plus T helper cells, their TCR can bind to antigens presented on class II MHC and release cytokines that help to coordinate immune response and recruit other immune cells to the site of an infection. There are several subtypes of T helper cells, including Th1, Th2, Th17, TFH, and Treg, each with their own specific role in the immune response. Th1 cells, for example, help to coordinate the immune response against intracellular pathogens, while Th2 cells help to coordinate the immune response against extracellular pathogens. CD8+ cytotoxic T cells, TC cells, their TCR can bind to antigen presented on class I MHC complex and differentiate into cytotoxic T lymphocytes, CTLS. CTLS are able to directly kill infected cells, virus-infected cells, tumor cell, by releasing cytotoxic granules that contain enzymes that disrupt the cell membrane. Monocytes are precursors to macrophages, which are responsible for engulfing and digesting foreign invaders. Monocytes are able to migrate out of the bloodstream and into tissues where they differentiate into macrophages or dendritic cells. Macrophages are large white blood cells that play a key role in the immune response by engulfing and digesting foreign invaders such as bacteria, viruses, and cancer cells. Dendritic cells are specialized in the capture, processing, and presentation of antigens to T cells. They are important for initiating the adaptive immune response. Macrophages. Macrophages are large white blood cells that play a key role in the immune response by engulfing and digesting foreign invaders such as bacteria, viruses, and cancer cells. They are also able to present antigens to T cells, and release various chemical signals, cytokines, to recruit other cells of the immune system to the site of an infection. They play a role in the inflammatory response, by releasing chemical mediators that can cause inflammation. They also play a role in removing cell debris and dead cells. They have the ability to migrate to sites of infection and injury and release various chemical signals to recruit other cells of the immune system to the site. Dendritic cells. DCS dendritic cells are a specialized type of antigen-presenting cells that are responsible for processing and presenting antigens to T cells. They capture antigens, process them, and present them on their surface to T cells in the lymphoid organs. This process is essential for the activation of T cells and the initiation of an immune response. There are 4 subtypes of dendritic cells: Langerhans dendritic cells, interstitial dendritic cells, monocyte-derived dendritic cells, and plasmacytoid-derived dendritic cells. Mast cells. Mast cells are a type of WBCS that are primarily found in connective tissues such as skin, respiratory, and gastrointestinal tracts. They are involved in the inflammatory response and are able to release chemical mediators such as histamine and leukotrienes that can cause inflammation and recruit other immune cells to the site of an allergic reaction. Natural killer cells. Natural killer cells, also known as NK cells, are a type of lymphocyte that play a crucial role in the body's defense against cancer. They express surface marker NK1.1 and have antibody receptors. They express a variety of receptors for self-MHC class I. When NK cells encounter cells that have lost MHC class I, receptors on NK cells are no longer engaged and cytotoxic granules are released that disrupt cell's membrane, leading to its death. They also have the ability to induce apoptosis, programmed cell death, in cancer cells. NK cells are also able to produce cytokines that help to recruit other immune cells to the site of the cancer. Natural killer T cells, NKT cells. Natural killer T cells are a subtype of T cells that can directly kill infected cells and cancer cells. They have receptors that can recognize and bind to specific antigens that have been presented by MHC class I-like molecule CD1 on the surface of infected cells. They have antibody receptors, CD16. Unlike TC cells, NKT cells do not require prior sensitization to a specific antigen and can recognize and kill cells that have been infected by viruses or transformed into cancer cells. Follicular dendritic cells FDCS. Follicular dendritic cells are specialized cells found within the germinal centers of lymphoid organs, such as the spleen and lymph nodes. They are responsible for trapping and holding antigens, which they present to B cells and T cells. They also play a role in the activation and maturation of B cells into antibody-producing plasma cells. In summary, the immune system is made up of a diverse group of cells, each with their own unique function. White blood cells, including granulocytes, agranulocytes and macrophages, are responsible for fighting off infections. Lymphocytes, such as B cells and T cells, are responsible for producing antibodies and targeting infected cells. DCS and FDCS play important roles in recognition and presentation of antigens to T cells. Natural killer cells are responsible for recognizing and killing abnormal cells, such as cancer cells. Together, these cells work together to protect the body from foreign invaders and keep us healthy. Thanks for watching and stay tuned for more videos on Learning Made Easy.